The air in the sterile silver-white chamber tasted of ozone and imminent death. Ambassador Kalen of the Valerian Concordance knelt on the smooth floor, his long, four-fingered hands resting on his knees. His skin, the color of dusk-lit amethyst, seemed dull under the harsh lights. Two of his four obsidian eyes were swollen shut from the beating. The other two were fixed on the human standing before him, holding the silver execution rod. Tears, viscous and shimmering like liquid mercury, traced paths through the blood on the ambassador's face. He did not look at the rod, nor at the impassive faces of the human military guards flanking the door. He looked only at the man tasked with this duty, a man whose hands trembled, whose breath came in shallow hitches, whose own eyes were glazed with a horror that mirrored Kalen's. "Please." Kalen's voice was a whisper, a frayed thread of sound woven from pain and a profound, desperate grace. The universal translator around his slender neck buzzed softly. "Do it quickly. For their sake, and for yours." The human's name was Leo Vance. 24 hours ago, he was fixing a leaky faucet in his daughter's bathroom, the smell of peanut butter sandwiches and crayons filling his small apartment. Now he held the instrument of first contact's catastrophic end. The weight of the rod was nothing compared to the weight in his soul. He had 30 seconds to comply with his orders. 30 seconds before they would do it for him, and then come for his reason for breathing. His daughter Maya, asleep in her bed 5 light years away. He raised the rod. Its tip hummed to life, casting a cold blue light over Kalen's serene, broken features. This was not how it was supposed to be. 3 weeks earlier, Leo Vance woke to the sound of a small, determined fist pounding on his bedroom door. "Daddy, the sky's doing the weird thing again." He groaned, the phantom ache of a 4-hour shift, loading cargo onto orbital freighters, still clinging to his muscles. He squinted at the chrono, projected on the ceiling, 0547. The weird thing was the dawn ripple, a permanent, gentle aurora that shimmered across the atmosphere of Nova Sol 9, a byproduct of the planet's unique magnetosphere interacting with the binary suns. To the colonists, it was mundane. To his 7-year-old daughter Maya, it was a daily miracle. "I'm coming, Bug," he called, his voice rough with sleep. Their home was a prefabricated habitat unit in Terra Sector 7, a sprawling settlement of gridded streets and identical gray, dwellings clinging to the edge of a vast, violet-hued fungal forest. The air outside was always cool, smelling of petrichor and distant ozone. Leo had come to Nova Sol 9 for a fresh start after Maya's mother. Ilara had vanished on a deep space survey mission. Presumed lost with all hands, the corporate missive had read. No body, no closure, just a severance package. And a one-way ticket to a frontier. World for him and his girl. He made breakfast, reconstituted, eggs and synth toast, while Maya pressed her nose against the viewing pane, her breath fogging the glass. The ripple outside painted her face in waves of cerulean and rose. "It's like the sky is singing," she whispered, a phrase she'd coined. Leo smiled, a tired but genuine expression. She had her mother's eyes, wide, curious, and the color of Earth sky he could barely remember. Finish your eggs, Sky Singer. School shuttle in 20. His job at the spaceport was monotonous. A symphony of roaring engines shouted commands, and the grumble of grav loaders. Nova Sol 9 was a backwater, a resupply point for longer hauls. Nothing ever happened here. That was the point. Safety, routine, a place to heal, or at least to forget how to feel the jagged edges of the loss. That changed at 1432 Planetary Standard. A klaxon he'd never heard before blared across the port, cutting through the din. The work lights died, replaced by throbbing crimson emergency strips. On every viewscreen, the planetary governor's pinched face appeared, her voice tight with controlled panic. "All citizens, an unidentified vessel has transitioned into high orbit. It is not of any known human design. Do not panic. Military authorities are en route. Proceed to your designated community, shelters if in coastal or major population sectors. All others shelter in place. This is not a drill." The cargo bay erupted into chaos. Leo's foreman, a grizzled man named Oscar, bellowed for order, but fear had taken the reins. Leo didn't join the rush. He stood frozen, his blood turning to ice. Not again. The thought was primal, a cave-deep fear. Ilara had been lost to the unknown. Now the unknown had come to his doorstep, to Maya's sky. He ran. Not to a shelter, but to the mag rail station. He had to get to Maya. The trains were jammed, systems overloaded. He pushed his way onto a standing room-only car, the air thick with sweat and panic. through the transparent roof. He saw it, a ship sleek and impossible, like a shard of carved obsidian and mother of pearl, hanging silently in the blue-violet sky beside the smaller moon. It made no sound, emitted no visible energy signature. It just was, a dark, silent tear in the fabric of their mundane reality. He reached Maya's school, a low dome-shaped building, to find it in controlled lockdown. It took 10 minutes of pleading with a harried security droid, flashing his parent ID chip, before he was allowed into the secure atrium. Maya was there, separated from her class, sitting with a teacher. When she saw him, she launched herself into his arms, not crying but trembling violently. "Is it monsters, Daddy?" He held her tight, smelling her shampoo, strawberry synth scent. "I don't know, Bug, but I'm here. I've got you." For 3 days the world held its breath. The ship did nothing. No signals, no scans, no descent. News feeds were a cacophony of speculation, fear-mongering, and military posturing. The United Earth Fleet had dispatched 3 cruisers, which took up positions around the alien vessel. A tense, silent standoff under the binary suns. Then on the 4th day, a single small craft detached from the mothership. It descended slowly, gracefully towards the spaceport. Not to the military pad, but to the civilian commercial wing, to Bay 17 Leo's Bay. A global broadcast was issued from the ship. A single sentence translated into all major Earth languages, spoken in a soft, androgynous voice. "We are the Valerian Concordance. We wish to speak. We bring a warning and an offer. We request a single neutral facilitator for initial contact." The world exploded with debate. Who? Why a civilian? It was a trick, a trap, a deception. Leo was trying to explain the chaos to Maya over dinner when his wristcom buzzed with an urgent priority pulse message. It was from Colonial Administration, marked with the highest security clearance. "Citizen Leonidas Vance, report to Central Command Sector Alpha. 800 hours, mandatory, subject, contact facilitation." He stared at the words. A cold dread, deeper than the fear of the unknown, settled in his gut. They hadn't chosen a diplomat, a scientist, or a soldier. They'd chosen a single father, a cargo loader, a man with everything to lose and a heart already scarred by the void. Central Command was a fortress of polished steel and anxious energy. Leo was led through a maze of corridors by a stern-faced Marine to a briefing room, where a dozen high-ranking officials and a few severe-looking civilians sat around a hollow table. "Leonidas Vance," a woman in a crisp admiral's uniform began. She was Admiral Varys, commander of the local fleet. "You've been vetted. No extreme political affiliations. No criminal record. A stable, if tragic, personal history. You work a blue-collar job. You are, for all intents and purposes, the average colonist. The Valerians have agreed to our counter-proposal. The facilitator must be a non-military, non-governmental individual. You are it." "Why?" Leo's voice was hoarse. "I'm nobody. I load boxes." "Precisely," said a thin man in a dark suit, a xenopsychologist. "Dr. Eris, your nobody status is your primary qualification. You represent no state power, no corporate interest. You're a baseline human, motivated by universal concerns, family, safety, home. The Valerians seem to value authenticity, or they perceive it as non-threatening. It's a massive risk," Varys admitted, her gaze boring into him. "But their ship could glass this colony from orbit. Before our cruisers could blink, this is a chance to talk. Your job is simple. Facilitate the first face-to-face meeting. Greet their emissary. Escort them to the secure diplomatic chamber. Be polite. Be neutral. Observe. A team will be monitoring and advising you via subcutaneous audio implant." Leo thought of Maya, safe at a friend's house. Promised a special treat if Daddy had to work late. He thought of Ilara, lost to the silent dark. This was the opposite of running, of hiding. This was walking into the dark. "What's the offer?" "And the warning?" "We don't know," Varys said. "That's what you're going to find out." The next morning, under the eerie calm of the dawn ripple, Leo stood alone on the polished ceramicrete of Bay 17. He wore clean, simple civilian clothes. His heart was a drum against his ribs. A cordon of remote-controlled security drones formed a wide perimeter. Weapons powered down but visibly present. The air crackled with tension. The alien craft landed with a whisper, a sigh of displaced air. It was a smaller version of the mothership, a seamless, organic-looking teardrop of dark material. A hatch irised open, stairs forming from the very hull. And he descended. Ambassador Kalen was tall, almost 7 feet, and slender to the point of fragility. He wore a simple gray robe that seemed to absorb the light. His skin was a luminous violet, and his 4 black eyes, set in a gentle, hairless face, took in everything. He moved with a slow, deliberate grace. Behind him stood 2 others of his kind, slightly bulkier. Their robes edged in silver, attendants or guards. Leo's implant buzzed. "Greet him." Standard welcome protocol. He swallowed, his mouth dry. "Ambassador Kalen, welcome to Nova Sol 9. I am Leo Vance, I will be your facilitator." Kalen stopped a few feet away. He tilted his head, a curiously bird-like gesture. All 4 eyes focused on Leo. The translator emitted his voice, soft and mellifluous. "Leo Vance, thank you for standing in the open. It is a gesture of trust, I perceive. Your resonance is tangled. Fear is present, but it is not dominant. There is a deeper frequency, a protective love. For your offspring?" Leo flinched. How could he know? "Don't confirm or deny," Dr. Eris hissed in his ear. Steered a protocol. "My personal life isn't relevant to these proceedings." "Ambassador," Leo said, repeating the line fed to him. "Forgive me," Kalen said, and he seemed genuinely contrite. "To my people, resonance is everything. It is the truth beneath words. The offer and the warning are both born of resonance." The formal meeting in the sterile diplomatic chamber was a tense affair. Admiral Varys, Dr. Eris, and other officials laid out carefully prepared statements about peaceful coexistence. Kalen listened patiently, his long fingers steepled. His responses were polite but vague. He spoke of the Concordance, a coalition of species who had learned to harmonize their collective resonances, to share knowledge and existence across millennia. He spoke of a silence in this region of the galaxy, lack of the resonant harmony they sought. "Your species," Kalen said, his eyes sweeping the room, "has a bright, chaotic resonance, full of potential and great noise. You are young and loud. This attracts attention." "Attention from whom?" Varys demanded. "That is the warning," Kalen said, his voice dropping. "There are listeners in the dark who do not seek harmony. They seek to silence resonance, to consume it. They are coming. Your noise has drawn them. The Concordance can offer you shelter, a technology, a resonant dampening field to hide your world, to teach you to quiet your psychic footprint. In exchange, we ask for a chance to understand you, to study your unique resonance, to find if harmony is possible." The room was dead silent. Then it erupted. A technology to hide a world? A galactic predator? It sounded like a fairy tale or a monstrous trick to gain technological submission. Leo watched Kalen through the uproar. The alien's gaze met his across the table. In those 4 dark eyes, Leo didn't see deception. He saw a profound, weary sadness. The same sadness he saw in his own eyes every morning in the mirror. Over the next week, Leo was Kalen's constant shadow. He escorted him to controlled tours, sat in on technical exchanges that went in circles. The official process was breaking down. Human paranoia and Valerian opacity were a toxic mix. But in the quiet moments, in the transport shuttle or during a walk in a secured garden, they talked. Kalen asked about Maya. Leo, against all protocol, found himself answering. He showed a picture. Kalen observed the image for a long time. "She resonates with your frequency, but there is another strand within her." A song cut short. "Her mother," Leo whispered, the pain fresh. "Lost in space." "Lost is not gone," Kalen said softly. "Resonance never truly dissipates, it transforms." One afternoon, as they observed the fungal forest from a viewing platform, Kalen grew very still. "Your world leaders believe we are lying. They think the Predator is a fiction we invented to make you dependent. They are planning to seize our ship, to reverse engineer our technology." Leo's implant was silent. A cold sweat broke out on his neck. "How do you know that?" "We feel the shift in their resonance. The deceit, the aggression. It is a shouting in the quiet." Kalen turned to him. "Leo Vance, you have shown me kindness. You have shown me your fear and your love, which is the same thing. So I will show you." He reached out, his long fingers hovering just before Leo's temples. "May I? I will show you the truth of the warning, not with words, with memory." Every protocol screamed no, but Leo thought of Alara, swallowed by the unknown. He thought of Maya's future. He nodded. Kalen's touch was cool, feather-light. A vision exploded in Leo's mind. Not an image, but a feeling. A crushing cosmic silence, a hunger so vast it dwarfed stars. He saw worlds not destroyed, but muted. Their colors gone, their sounds vanished. The very essence of life drained, leaving behind sterile, resonant husks. He felt the approach of this silence, a wave of negation, and he felt the frantic, desperate song of the concordance, a chorus of species trying to build a shelter of harmony against the devouring quiet. The vision was saturated with a truth so horrific and pure it could not be fabricated. Leo staggered back, gasping, tears streaming down his face. It was real, all of it. Kalen's eyes held infinite pity. They are coming. And now, your leaders have decided we are the immediate threat. They will act tonight. Leo's implant screamed to life. Vance, report! What did he do to you? Before he could form a lie, alarms blared across the compound. Not the contact alarm, but the shriek of combat alerts. They're moving early, Kalen said, resignation in his voice. A boarding action on our shuttle. My guards will be killed. They will take me. Why don't you fight? Leo yelled over the sirens. Your technology. To fight with violence is to resonate with violence. It would be a beacon, shouting our location to the silence. Our first principle is harmony. Sometimes harmony requires sacrifice. Kalen looked at him, his 4 eyes holding Leo's too, but not yours. You have seen, you know. You must get to your daughter. What? Why? Because when they have me, Kalen said, as doors hissed open down the hall and the thud of armored boots approached. They will use me as leverage. They will suspect your loyalty. They will take what you love most to control you. Go now. The door to the platform burst open. Admiral Varys stood there, flanked by Marines in full combat exosuits, weapons raised. Ambassador Kalen, you are detained for psychic assault on a human citizen. Varys barked. Vance, step away from him. Leo looked from Varys's hardened face to Kalen's serene, accepting one. The alien gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. For their sake. And for yours. Leo made a choice. He turned and ran, not towards the Admiral, but towards the service ladder at the edge of the platform that led down into the fungal forest. Stop him! Varys roared. Energy bolts sizzled past his head, searing the railing. He scrambled down the ladder, his hands burning on the rungs, and plunged into the violet, bioluminescent undergrowth. The shouts and alarms faded behind him, muffled by the thick, sponge-like ground and towering fungal caps. He ran, guided by panic and a single laser-focused purpose, Maya. He used back channels, service tunnels, and the forgotten pathways of a colonist who knew his town's underbelly. His implant was a constant stream of threats and orders, which he ripped out with a grunt of pain, tossing the bloody device into a sewer grate. He was a traitor now. He reached his friend's house, but it was too late. A black unmarked vehicle was parked outside. 2 agents in civilian clothes were speaking with his pale, terrified friend on the doorstep. He saw Maya's small backpack in the agent's hand, retreating into shadows, his soul screaming. He accessed a public terminal with a stolen code. He hacked into the low-security civilian feed, searching for news. He found it, a press release from Colonial Administration. Breaking. Alien ambassador convicted of psychic espionage and attempted subversion. Facilitator Leo Vance complicit. Now at large and considered armed and dangerous, his daughter. Maya has been taken into protective custody for her safety. Protective custody. A gilded cage, a leash around his neck. Despair threatened to drown him. Then a memory surfaced. Kalen's words in the garden. Resonance never truly dissipates. It transforms. And the vision. The Concordance's technology wasn't just about hiding. It was about connection, about finding harmony across distance. The shuttle, Kalen's personal shuttle, still in Bay 17. It was surely under heavy guard, being dissected by military scientists. But what if it wasn't just a vehicle? What if it was a node in their resonant network? The mothership was still in orbit, silent, surrounded by human cruisers. If they had Kalen, they had a hostage. The Concordance would not fight. They would wait, or they would leave to avoid detection by the silence. Humanity would be left naked and loud before the approaching storm. Leo had one insane, desperate card to play. The authorities would expect him to run, to hide, to try and break Maya out of a detention center. They would not expect him to walk back into the heart of the lion's den. Using drainage conduits and maintenance tunnels, He infiltrated the spaceport's perimeter. The place was on high alert, but the focus was outward, expecting an attack from the mothership or a rescue attempt for Kalen. No one looked for a single, desperate man in the grease-stained coveralls of a cargo worker, moving through the industrial undercroft. He reached a sub-level conduit that fed directly into the backup power grid for Bay 17. Peering through a grate, he saw the bay. Kalen's elegant, teardrop shuttle was surrounded by a swarm of scientists and soldiers. Scanning equipment hummed. They hadn't been able to open it. And there, in the center of the bay, in a hastily erected containment field that shimmered with amber light, was Kalen. He was shackled, his robe torn, one set of eyes swollen shut from a fresh blow. He knelt, head bowed, but his posture was not one of defeat, but of profound, sorrowful waiting. Admiral Varys stood before him, holding a silver rod and neural disruptor, a tool for interrogation or for execution. "Your ship in orbit is powering its drives," Varys stated coldly. "Order them to stand down and surrender their vessel, or this ends now." Kalen lifted his head. "I cannot. To command them to violence would be to doom them and you." The silence draws nearer with every shout. "Let us go. Let us help you." "Your help is subjugation," Varys spat. She raised the rod. "Last chance." Leo's mind raced. He couldn't fight a bay full of troops, but he didn't need to fight them all. He remembered the cargo manifests. In this very bay, scheduled for loading yesterday, were canisters of inert gaseous helium-3 used for non-flammable coolant. Inert unless exposed to a high-frequency energy pulse from a misaligned containment field regulator. He crawled through the tunnel to the utility closet for Bay 17. Inside, amid the humming regulators, he found what he needed. With shaking hands, he cross-wired the feed for the bay's lighting system to the regulator, controlling the He-3 canister's stability field. It was a crude, ugly bomb. It wouldn't kill anyone. The blast would be concussive, disorienting, and release a blinding, harmless cloud of ultra-cold mist. He took a deep breath, said a silent apology to Maya for what he was about to become, and touched the wires together. The explosion was a deep thump that shook the bay. White, frigid mist erupted from the storage pallets, billowing out in an instant, swallowing everything. Alarms whooped. Lights flickered and died. Shouts of confusion and panic filled the air. Leo burst from a service door, a breather mask pulled over his face, another clutched in his hand. He ran through the opaque, freezing fog, guided by memory. He stumbled over a prone soldier, veered around a toppled scanner, and found the amber containment field. It was flickering, its emitter damaged by the blast. Kalen looked up, his 3 good eyes widening in shock. Leo slammed the breather mask over Kalen's face, then grabbed a fallen soldier's sidearm, firing 3 rounds into the field emitter. It died with a sparking fizzle. He hauled Kalen up. "Can you run?" "Leo Vance, you should not have come." "Neither should you." Leo dragged him towards the shuttle. The mist was starting to settle. Figures were staggering, aiming weapons blindly. They reached the shuttle. The hatch was still sealed. "Open it," Leo yelled. Kalen placed his palm on the hull. It remained inert. "They have installed a dampening field, a crude resonance blocker. I cannot." An energy bolt seared past Leo's shoulder. Varys emerged from the mist, her uniform coated in frost, her face a mask of fury, the silver rod still in her hand. "Vance, stand down." Leo turned, putting himself between Varys and Kalen. He raised the sidearm, his aim wavering. "They're telling the truth, Admiral. I saw it. We're making the biggest mistake in human history." "You've been brainwashed," Varys snarled. "Step aside." "That is an order." Kalen's voice was gentle behind him. "It is all right, Leo. Thank you for trying. Please do it quickly." He was speaking to Varys, his tone accepting, final. But Leo wasn't listening to Kalen. He was looking at the shuttle hull, at the subtle, mother-of-pearl swirls within the obsidian. In his mind's eye, he saw the concordance's harmony. Not a song of words, but a feeling of resonance. He thought of Maya's laugh. He thought of Ilara's smile. He thought of the deep, protective, screaming love that had driven him here. It wasn't chaotic noise. It was his song, his truth. He didn't raise the gun higher. Instead, he lowered it. He dropped it to the floor with a clatter. He turned his back on Admiral Varys, an act of ultimate defiance and vulnerability, and placed his own hand, his simple human hand, on the cold hull of the Valerian shuttle. He didn't try to command it. He didn't try to think. He just felt. He poured every ounce of his fear for Maya, his grief for Alara, his desperate hope for a future, his awe at the dawn ripple, his exhaustion, his love, his sheer, stubborn, human will to protect into that touch. For a second, nothing happened. Then a soft, warm light pulsed from beneath his palm. The swirls in the hull began to move, to glow with a gentle gold and azure light, mirroring the colors of the Novasol 9 sky. A harmonious chime, beautiful and clear, rang out, cutting through the chaos. The hatch irised open. Behind him, Varys froze, the execution rod half lifted, her eyes wide with utter disbelief. Kalen stared at Leo, his four eyes wide with an emotion beyond shock, awe. You resonate with it. You resonate with us. Get in, Leo shouted, shoving the stunned diplomat towards the open hatch. He turned for one last look at Admiral Varys, at the world that had branded him a traitor, at the life he was leaving behind. Then he jumped in after Kalen. The hatch sealed. The shuttle hummed to life. Not with a roar, but with a rising, cord-like vibration. It lifted smoothly, ignoring the small arms fire that now pinged harmlessly against its hull, and shot upwards through the atmosphere. A streak of resonant light heading for the mothership, leaving behind a bay full of stunned silence, and a world on the brink of a terrifying new understanding. Inside the shuttle, the world of human sounds vanished. The air was still, cool, and smelled of something like sandalwood and starlight. The interior was one smooth chamber with no visible controls. The walls glowed with soft, ambient light that pulsed in time with the ship's gentle thrum. Leo collapsed against a softly yielding wall, his body trembling with adrenaline crash. The enormity of what he'd done crashed down on him. He was a fugitive. He had attacked a military installation. He had allied himself with aliens. He had left his daughter alone in the hands of the very people he'd just betrayed. A sob, raw and ugly, tore from his throat. He buried his face in his hands. Maya, oh God, Maya! He felt a cool touch on his shoulder. Kalen knelt beside him, his movements slow with pain. She lives, Leo Vance. She is afraid, but she is unharmed. Her resonance is a bright, clear note in the static. I can feel it even here. You can feel her? Leo looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. Distance is less meaningful to resonance than alignment, Kalen said softly. He touched his own bruised face. Your leaders wish to use her to control you. They wish to use me to control my people. They understand leverage. They do not understand harmony. He gestured, and a section of the wall became a view screen, showing the receding curve of Novasol 9. The human cruisers already turning, giving chase. They will pursue. They will try to stop us from reaching the solace. Your ship. Our home. For now, Kalen's eyes held Leo's. You activated the shuttle with your resonance. No human, no non-concordant species has ever done that. Our technology is keyed to a specific harmonic frequency, a shared song of our alliance. Your song, it is different, wild, unformed, but in its core, in the love that is its root, it contains the same fundamental note, the note of creation, of connection, not destruction. What does that mean? Leo whispered. I do not know, Kalen admitted, but it means everything. The trip to the Solace was a short, tense jump. The mothership was immense up close, a cathedral of organic curves and shimmering, non-reflective surfaces. As their shuttle was absorbed into a landing bay, Leo saw the 3 human cruisers on the main viewer, moving into aggressive positions, their weapons powering up. The bay was filled with Valerians. They were all tall and slender, variations of purple and blue and gray, their 4 eyes watching with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and shock as Leo, a human, helped their wounded ambassador from the shuttle. A being who seemed to be in charge with robes of woven silver light approached. Kalen spoke to them in a flowing, chime-like language. The being's eyes widened, flicking to Leo. They are demanding our immediate surrender. Kalen translated for Leo. They are threatening to fire upon the Celestine if we do not return you and I to their custody. They believe we have kidnapped you. They'll fire? On a ship this size, with who knows how many of you aboard. Leo felt sick. They believe their weapons are superior. They are wrong. But to demonstrate, that would require a resonant discharge. That would be a flare in the dark for the silence. The silver-robed leader, the captain, chimed something. Kalen nodded, his face grim. The captain's decision is made. We will not fight. We will attempt to jump away. But the human vessels are too close. Their gravity wells will disrupt our transition. We would be torn apart. So we just wait to be boarded or blown up? There is another option, Kalen said. He looked at Leo, his gaze intense. A desperate one. You resonated with a shuttle, a small, simple node. The solace is the heart of our choir. If you could interface with it, not to fight, to speak, to project the truth you saw, the truth of the silence, the truth of your own heart, not as a broadcast, but as a resonant pulse, a whisper of truth so pure it might calm the storm. You want me to pilot your mothership? No, I want you to sing to it, and through it to them. Kalen gestured to the view screen to the human cruisers. It may not work. Your resonance is untrained. The feedback could overwhelm your mind. It could kill you. Leo stared at the ships poised to destroy this vessel of peaceful beings. He thought of Admiral Varys acting out of fear. He thought of the politicians acting out of greed and paranoia. He thought of Maya, her future being decided by this moment of silence or shouting. He thought of Alara, lost, not gone. Resonance never dissipates. What do I do? They brought him to the center of the ship, a vast spherical chamber. In its center hung a complex, crystal-like structure that glowed from within, the resonant core. It hummed with a sound that was felt more than heard, a deep, beautiful chord that made the air vibrate. Place your hands upon it, Kalen instructed, standing beside him. The captain and other Valerians formed a wide circle around them. Their eyes closed, their bodies humming softly, adding their own resonance to the core, supporting it. Do not force. Do not think. Remember your daughter's face. Remember your lost love. Remember the fear you felt when the sky cracked open with our arrival. Remember the hope you felt when you saw the dawn. Ripple for the first time, let it flow. Leo stepped forward. The light from the core played over his skin. He took a final shuddering breath and placed his palms flat against the crystal. It was warm. Then it was everything. A torrent of sensation flooded into him. Not a vision this time, but a symphony. He felt the collective consciousness of the Valerians on the ship. A serene, sorrowful, hopeful song. He felt the vast, quiet network of the concordance. Threads of harmony stretching across light years. And he felt the approaching, gnawing nothingness of the silence. A distant but growing chill. He didn't fight the flood. He let it in. And then he let himself out. He poured Maya into the stream, her laugh as she watched the sky, her small hand in his, the weight of her asleep on his chest. He poured Alara into it, the scent of her hair, the crinkle of her eyes when she smiled, the void her absence left. He poured his own loneliness, his struggle, his love for a world that was just starting to feel like home. He showed the core and through it the ship, and through the ship he hoped to the human vessels. The truth Kalen had shown him, the devouring silence. Not as a threat, but as a shared peril. He showed them the Valerian offer not as subjugation, but as a hand extended in a gathering storm. He showed them his own heart, broken, scared, but fiercely loving. A human heart. The feedback was agony. It was like being stripped to his soul, every neuron firing at once. He screamed, but no sound came out in the chamber of light. He felt his body failing, his mind fraying at the edges. He was a candle blazing in a hurricane, but he held on. He held on to the image of Maya's future, not in a cage, but under a safe, singing sky. Through the link, he felt a shift. On the view screen at the edge of the chamber, the human cruiser's weapon signatures were powering down. The aggressive formation was loosening. A confused,
chaotic babble of human resonance filtered back, fear giving way to doubt.
Anger to uncertainty, suspicion to a dawning, horrifying realization. He had reached them. Then, a new resonance brushed against his, small, bright, terrified, but familiar, a single clear bell-like note in the chaos. Daddy? It was Maya, her consciousness, her fear, amplified by something, perhaps the very technology the humans were using to try and block Valerian signals, somehow bridged by the immense resonant pulse he was generating. Maya. He couldn't form words, only a wave of love, protection, and sorrow. You're in the light. You're singing. It's pretty. Her thought was a child's impression, overwhelming and pure. The loud people are scared. I'm scared too. I know, Bug. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to make it safe. Don't go away again. That plea, more than any physical pain, shattered him. His hold on the core faltered. The symphony began to slip, the connection to the human ships wavering. Kalen, standing beside him, saw him failing. Without a word, the ambassador stepped forward and placed his own hands over Leo's on the crystal. He poured his own strength, his ancient weary resonance, into the stream, supporting Leo's fading signal, amplifying the pure human emotion at its core. The combined resonance, human love, and Valerian harmony surged outwards one final, brilliant time. On the screen, the lead human cruiser, Admiral Varys's flagship, launched a single small craft, not a missile, a diplomatic pod. Then Leo's world went dark. He awoke to soft light and the scent of ozone and sandalwood. He was on a low, comfortable pad in a quiet room aboard the Solace. His body felt like it had been beaten, his mind scraped hollow. Kalen sat nearby, his injuries cleaned and treated, looking frail but calm. The human vessels have withdrawn to a non-threatening distance, Kalen said, his voice a gentle chime in the quiet. The diplomatic pod is docked. Admiral Varys is aboard. She wishes to speak with you. Leo tried to sit up, a wave of dizziness forcing him back. Maya is unharmed. The protective custody has been lifted. The broadcast you created was received by more than just the military. Parts of it leaked into the planetary data net. There is public outrage, confusion, but also understanding. The political calculus has changed. They helped him to a meeting room. Admiral Varys stood there, out of her armor, looking older and drained. She was alone. She flinched when she saw Leo, as if seeing a ghost. Vance. Her voice was stripped of its command edge. The data packet you transmitted. The vision of this. Silence. Our scientists have analyzed the resonant frequencies. It's not a fabrication. It's a deep space pattern we've detected but couldn't interpret. It's moving this way. She took a shaky breath. And the emotional content. The raw, unshielded humanity of it. It's being broadcast on every channel down there. They're demanding answers, demanding we listen. She looked at Kalen, then back at Leo. You showed me my own fear. Vance, you showed me it was making me blind. The concordance offer, we are willing to discuss it, seriously. With you as a liaison. A liaison? Leo croaked. The people saw you. They saw a father, not a traitor. They felt what you felt. They trust you more than they trust us right now. She squared her shoulders, the Admiral reasserting itself. But there are conditions. Kalen must return to the surface to continue talks. And you remain here. As a gesture of good faith on our part and as a guarantor of theirs. A hostage, again. But this time a willing one, a symbol. Kalen nodded slowly. This is acceptable. If Leo agrees. Leo thought of Maya, safe but with a galaxy of new fears. He thought of the silence creeping closer. He had run from the unknown once and lost Alara. He would not run again. I agree, he said. On one condition. I get to see my daughter. Regularly, not on a screen. In person, here or there in safety. Varys nodded after a moment. Arrangements can be made. The first meeting was a week later. In a neutral dome on the Solace's biodome level. A place of strange singing plants and soft light. When Maya stepped off the human shuttle, escorted by a single non-threatening aide, she didn't run to him. She stopped, her small face looking up at the impossible architecture, at the tall, gentle Valerians who watched with soft eyes. Then she looked at Leo, who knelt, his heart in his throat. Daddy, she said, walking slowly forward. You're all shiny. He realized his skin had taken on a faint, barely perceptible glow, a lingering effect of bonding with the core, a mark of what he'd done. Is it scary? She asked, touching his cheek. A little, he admitted. But it's also part of a new song. Are you scared? She nodded, her lower lip trembling. Then she threw her arms around his neck, burying her face in his shoulder. I heard you in my head. You were singing to keep the quiet away. He held her, tears finally freely flowing. I will always sing to keep the quiet away, Bug, always. Over the following weeks, a fragile, tentative trust was built. Kalen and human diplomats, with Leo participating via secure link from the Solace, began the monumental task of planning. The Valerians would share the principles of resonant dampening technology. Humanity would provide its chaotic, innovative energy to help refine it. A joint outpost would be established in a far-flung system, an early warning station against the silence. Leo was the bridge. He spent his days learning from Kalen and the concordant scientists, his unique resonance allowing him to understand their technology in an intuitive, way no other human could. His nights were for Maya, who visited often and who, to everyone's astonishment, began to form her own gentle bond with the Valerians, her child's mind unburdened by prejudice, her resonance clear and accepting. One evening, as Leo and Kalen stood in the observation dome, watching Nova Sol 9 spin below, its dawn ripple a shimmering scar across the twilight, Kalen was quiet. "The work proceeds," Kalen said finally, "but the silence draws nearer. We have months, perhaps a year, before our combined song will be strong enough to hide your system. We'll make it," Leo said with a conviction he felt in his bones. "There is another thing," Kalen said, his voice hesitant. "When we were joined at the core, when you were channeling your memories, I felt the resonance of your mate, Ilara." Leo's breath caught, and her song was not cut short by emptiness. It was redirected. It was not the silence that took her. Her resonance pattern bears a different signature, one I have encountered only in deep concordance archives. It is a signature of a species we believed extinct or transformed, the Ixthori. They are not predators. They are collectors of unique resonance. Leo turned, grabbing Kalen's arm. "What are you saying? That she's alive? Her resonance is not in the void. It is elsewhere, muted but present. The Ixthori are elusive, living in dimensional layers we can barely perceive. If they took her, if they preserve resonances they find fascinating, she may exist in a form we could perhaps reach." Hope, violent and terrifying, erupted in Leo's chest, a hope he had buried years ago. "We must focus on the immediate danger," Kalen cautioned gently, seeing his turmoil. "But when this crisis is past, the Concordance owes you a debt, Leo Vance. We will help you search." 6 months later, the first joint resonant dampener was activated on Nova Sol 9. From the surface, it looked like the dawn ripple intensified, then gently faded, wrapping the world in a quiet, harmonic veil. To the universe, the bright, chaotic noise of humanity in that sector dimmed to a whisper. Leo stood on the surface once more, not in Bay 17, but in a newly built park at the edge of the fungal forest. He held Maya's hand. Above them, the Valerian mothership Solace hung beside the human cruisers. Not in confrontation, but in quiet, watchful alliance. Admiral Varys approached, her posture less rigid. She nodded to him. "Vance, the first phase is complete. Your unique services are still required at the outpost. But your home is here whenever you wish." "Thank you, Admiral." She left them. Maya looked up at the sky, now holding two familiar shapes. "It's quieter," she said. "But it's a good quiet. Like everyone is holding their breath together." A soft chime came from the comm unit on Leo's wrist. It was Kalen calling from the Solace. "Leo, the outpost construction is ahead of schedule. And our long-range, harmonic scanners have completed their first full sweep of the proposed perimeter." Kalen's voice was careful, deliberately neutral. "We have detected an anomaly, a faint repeating resonance echo in a non-dimensional interstitial zone. The pattern is degraded, but the foundational frequency, it is a 89.7% match to the signature we identified in your memory." Leo's heart stopped. He looked down at Maya, who was now watching a bioluminescent insect with fascination, then up at the stars, vast and cold and suddenly full of terrifying, beautiful possibility. The immediate storm had been calmed. The world was safe for now. His daughter was with him. He had found a new family in the strange, gentle beings from the stars. But the universe was vaster and stranger than he had ever dreamed. And somewhere in the layers between realities, a song he thought was lost forever might still be playing, waiting to be found. He squeezed Maya's hand, looking at the peaceful, veiled sky, then towards the infinite dark beyond. Their work was just beginning.